Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about Java and why Java suits my personality. So let's get into it. Now, for those out there who may have strong opinions on Java, and some of you may not actually have any opinions whatsoever on Java, let me tell you a few things. Java is it's probably it is. It's second only in popularity to JavaScript. JavaScript is the most popular language in the world, and Java is a fairly strong second. With Python now getting a little bit of a bump in trendiness because of most of us agree that it's very tied into machine learning, basically, because machine learning is getting popular and Python is extremely well suited for that sort of thing, right? But Java is this industry you have no idea how big it is. There are entire companies, and I'm not talking just a few, we're talking hundreds of companies and consultancies who only specialize in Java expertise. And here in Gothenburg, there are literally there's tons of these consultancies, and I'm talking fairly large consultancies that specializes in only providing Java developers, virtually only Java developers at least. And they can make their entire organization just run because they have titans such as like Volvo and Telia and like all these other massive super companies who they are the biggest customers. Like they have smaller companies make their entire living off of just providing these massive super companies with Java developers. And you see, I'm not trying to sell you on Java, because depending on your viewpoint, you can think that Java is a horrible language, or you can think it is a very nice language. So what I want to tell you is why I personally chose Java as my first language, and my mindset as to why I think it's a good language. So let's talk about that for a moment. Now, when I first started programming, I knew nothing about programming whatsoever, and this wasn't all that long ago. So the only thing I had as a desire as a programmer, because let's be honest, when you don't know any better, you have no idea what makes one language do something and which language should you choose. I mean, I was super confused. I didn't know, could I do everything? Like, could I make games in Python? Could I make it in Java? Could I do embedded systems in Java? I don't know, what's the difference between C and C++, and what's C# and C++? Is that the same thing? Because they have the same letter. Like, you have no idea. When you don't know, you don't know. So I did what most people would do. I started searching around on the internet, and then I was faced with this other issue where all these opinionated people with their own agenda were telling me all kinds of things. I had people who said that, Haskell is the best starting language because it's functional, and functional is great, and then they had a lot of graphs that indicated how statistically their code was less error prone than anybody else's. And then I had the C# people who said that their thing was best, C++ was the best because it was low level, and blah blah. So many people who are pushing their own agendas. And then I had some people who said that Java is a solid choice. And the problem was that when you don't know any better, everything seems equal, because this is actually a big problem in our society. If two people are equally charismatic or equally convincing to a third person, it doesn't matter if one person knows absolutely everything about the topic and the other one doesn't know even the first thing about it. If they seem to know the thing that they're talking about, the third person who knows nothing has no way of telling who's telling the truth or who is the more viable person to listen to. So, when I kind of figured out what I wanted to, when I actually came down to it and I realized what I wanted to do, I realized that I have all these different things I want to be able to do. And I said, okay, so I need a language that is going to allow me the maximum amount of freedom. I don't need something that is like super specialized in one thing. I just need something that will teach me the basics of programming, but at the same time allow me to do everything I want. I need something that is not limited or not limiting me in what I can do. Because that's what I kind of figured out very quickly about some languages, that some languages were not really made for certain things. Like I started with PHP and I realized that, wow, I can't really make computer games in PHP. Well, not any like normal computer games, the things that I was accustomed to doing, using like when I play computer games on my own computer. I couldn't do that in PHP. I didn't know that when I started. And I was also very surprised to realize that there were a lot of different languages that really they weren't really suited for certain things. And that's when I started looking into Java. And the more I looked into it, people were kind of saying the same thing. Like there were all these naysayers who were saying that Java is slow, it's bullshit, yada yada yada, and that scared me a lot. It made me very uncomfortable because what does slow mean? What does slow mean to a beginner? Well, does it mean that this is a really bad choice for almost any type of programming? Does it mean that it's going to be a really big mistake for me who doesn't know any better to start with Java? Well, it's only today, sorry, there is only, wow, anywho, it's really only today where I can tell you that these terms, slow, fast, and so forth, they're very relative. Very, very relative. Because when I didn't know any better, I thought slow meant that I would have real issues with my programming language. Slow means if we were going to go down that route. Slow for Java means that at the absolute largest applications or the absolute peak performance situations, in these extreme corner cases where you need to squeeze the living shit out of absolutely every single line of code that you have, then yes, Java is very slow. But what people who will tell you that these things are an issue, what they kind of forget to mention is that if you are a beginner, or even something not like, even if you are a large company, like there are absolutely situations where you need all this performance, but for the most part that's not the most important thing. For the most part, Java is perfectly fine. Or rather, that's what I realized. The speed doesn't come into it. Java isn't the slowest language out there. But people were telling me when I was looking into it that it was so slow and that was the problem. And despite all of these people, there was this other group of people who were saying that, well, what's good about this language is that it will teach you the basics of programming. And Java is so universal and so common and has all of these practices that are considered to be standards for the industry, like object-oriented programming, for example, and so forth and so forth. So by beginning with this language, you will learn almost everything you need to know in order to be a programmer. And that's the thing that stuck with me. And then we had this final group that kind of pushed me over the edge and made me go into Java. And they said, yeah, this is true, but don't forget that although Java may not be this specialized solution that fits, that you can use for like certain things, it's a very good generic solution. And I thought, well, why is that good? Well, then they explained that it's the sort of language that you can kind of throw it at anything. It's the biggest and most widely spread language for that exact reason. It's sort of good at almost anything. And that's the thing that stuck with me. Because, I can tell you now that I have a few years under my belt, that's actually the best thing. Because when I was a junior, I really thought that having the peak of like the best language for the job was the most important thing. I really thought that if you didn't pick the perfect language that was specialized at doing the exact thing you wanted, then you were screwed. You made a bad decision or you made a bad choice. But it's actually now, with a little bit of experience, where I realize that this is true to a point, that there are situations where you really want something that is extremely high performant or extremely specialized and very well suited for the thing you're making. But for the most part, you're actually better off starting with something that allows you a little bit of experimentation, a little bit of flexibility. Because when you start out, it's very hard for you to predict exactly how things are going to go. So that's why I personally thought that's why Java fits my personality so well. Because I can trust that regardless of what happens, I can make it work. Regardless of what I want to do, I can do it. You can build embedded systems in Java. You can build web applications. You can build, even for really large enterprise applications, microservices. You want to build that, you can build that as well. Games. You can build absolutely almost everything in this language. And to someone like myself, who's, when I started out, just wanted to be able to experiment and try everything in programming, because I didn't have a specific goal. I didn't want to do just embedded systems. I didn't want to do just machine learning. I didn't just want to do games development. I wanted to do it all. That is what made Java my first choice. It's not because it's the best language at everything. It's not. But it is pretty good at almost everything you could possibly want to do. And that's perfect for someone like myself. Have a great day.